Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Property Investment Australia podcast. I'm your host, Lachlan Vidler, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Will Sanchez. Will, what's going on, my friend? How you been? What's going on?
Been well.
Yeah?
Same old. Yes, getting through it.
Yep.
Leading up to the end of the year, so it's pretty good so far.
Nice and busy, I'm sure. Nice and busy for you?
Yeah, try to get all the applications pushed through as quickly as we can. You know how it is. Everyone is urgent right now.
Oh, everyone's a priority. It's funny. We had a client the other day who naturally thinks they're the only person that we're working with, and we've been looking for like a week for her or something, and she's going, "Why don't we have something yet? And what's going on?" And we're saying
1 week.
1 week, yeah. Saying, all right.
In this market.
Literally, I said, "Hey, that's..." well, I didn't say it. One of the team did, but it said to her, "Look, hey, that is not that you were explicitly told the timings, the time frames, and that's not even close to what it is. There's a process, and B, we understand you want to be in. Everyone wants to be in. Everyone wants to be in yesterday, but the reality is,
a great property and off the plan.
Yeah, you took 6 months to talk to sign on to work with us. Like we were talking 6 months ago, and you decided not to take action. So if you did it 6 months ago, you'd be in. But mate, I'm well. Obviously, lots of exciting things going on at the moment. Got Budget Battlers still airing. We've it has been absolutely amazing. So for those of you that haven't been following along, I'm the investment expert on Channel 9's Budget Battlers, 7:30 on Wednesdays, where we help renovate people's homes, and I'm their investment expert, helping them to decide what some of the better decisions are when renovating, but also how to do it in a cost-effective manner. So amazing show, mate. Amazing show. Awesome response. We're reaching 1.5+ million Australians every single episode, which is just crazy numbers. People reaching out all the time. I have been.
Yeah, fair enough. And how many? And how many Brazilians?
How many Brazilians? You know what? I don't think I've actually. I don't think I've asked if any Brazilians have been tuning in, but funnily enough, I did actually get stopped in the street the other day. It was a very awkward encounter. Someone was like, "I think I know you." So, okay, how do you know me?
Really?
Yeah. It was in the city. It was like lunchtime peak hour. So realistically, you're absolute prime.
That's
time.
funny.
But I was like, "Oh man, I don't know. How do you think? No?" He's like, "You on TV or something?" And I said, "Oh yeah, you watching Budget Battlers?" He said, "Oh, that's where I know you're from." So anyway, had a good chat with him. He's not ready to invest yet, but he's loving the show. So
that was the end of the conversation, right?
That was basically the end of the conversation. Exactly right. So, but anyway, mate, no, it's fantastic. So for anyone who hasn't tuned in, highly encourage it. Channel 9, prime time, 7:30 on Wednesdays. There's a few episodes left to run, but you can also stream it on 9 now. And we've just had some incredible stories. So, mate, that's what's going on for me. But I think we need to just jump straight into this episode. I think it's an awesome episode that I don't want anybody to wait any longer to hear us talk about. Yeah. Well, I think it's a pretty timely episode, right? This one, if I were buying, or we were buying a property right now, here's what I'd do, right? And I think that you got two people sitting here who are just so deeply involved in property, both for pretty self-explanatory reasons. Will with his finance and us with doing, pretty much everything else on that side. So we've come up with, I think, a pretty good couple of things that we wanted to talk about, because for those of you listening in, everyone knows, right? If you want to come and work with, the team at Atlas Property Group to help you buy a property, that's fine. You can do that. That's no worries. We're going to help you out. We love helping people out. And we get lots of people that come through the show. And I know for those of you who tune in, who need help on finance, Will and his guys over at Aussie Newtown, they are super happy to be helping you out. But of course, not everybody needs or wants to work with us, right? You might have your own broker. You might be trying to buy a property yourself, whatever the reason might be. And we just wanted to kind of help out, some of those people, because, for those of you, this might be your first episode you're listening to, right? And you might be thinking, I can go and have a crack myself. So Will and I wanted to give you a bit of a sneak peek into our heads, given that we help so many people every week, every month, every year. We're at a really interesting time of the year, right? November, I can see it walking around the city. I can see it with, client meetings. I can see it with the news. I can see it in so many respects. Energy is definitely high, right? We're not sure if there's going to be too many more rate cuts. Doesn't look that way. Looks like we're certainly, at the end of maybe this rate cutting cycle. But people, things have eased off a little bit in terms of some financial challenges for people. So vibes are high. Vibes are high, my friend. Do you feel it? Do you feel the same?
Yes, same. But it's I would say maybe 60-40. There's lots of people sort of in that mentality of end of year. So let's ease. It's time to set cruise control, and that's about it. But we know what happens.
We do know what happens.
We know what happens.
We do know what happens. But I guess that's what a lot of today's episode is about. Is that if you're going out there to try and look at buying some property, here are the things that we would be doing. And I got a hot tip for everyone. I'm gonna give it away a little bit. It's nothing crazy, right? I'm a big fan. One of my favorite sayings, you can ask anybody that works for me at Atlas. One of my favorite sayings is be brilliant at the basics, right? Because if you can't be brilliant at the basics, you can't build anything more sophisticated on top of that, right? Because you're just going to crumble, right? Like a house of cards. So we've got a few things to talk about today in terms of what we would be doing if we were buying a property right now and how we'd do it. But none of it's rocket science. But sometimes the best episodes, the best things to listen to are when people are just talking about the basics, and it makes you remember what those basics are and go, hang on a minute, maybe I'm not actually doing that. Maybe I just need to do that. And then suddenly, you're achieving success you could never dream of. I've actually got a really good example of that, right?
Oh, bring it on.
I got a good example, right? Through my work with Budget Battlers, we've filmed all across Australia. Well, not all across, but in very, very, very many and various parts. A lot of it was in some country areas, which meant, big, hours long drives to get out there. And in my day-to-day life, because, we're just very busy building out Atlas, which is a really convenient excuse, by the way.
I was going to
say, I used to love listening to podcasts and, reading business books and obviously just trying to, improve myself in so many ways. And because I had those drives, I was finally able to, in my mind, in reality, I just got to find the time in general life to do it. But I was finally able to sit down and listen to some business podcasts and things like that because I was, I might have been driving for 4 or 5 hours, right? Anyway, long story short is just that listening to some podcasts, listening to some, really well-known global figures talk about just some of the most basic things to do with business. I was sitting back and thinking, you know what? Like, I'm not doing that. Like, we're not doing that in Atlas. Like, it's just really core fundamental things. Maybe we did it, but then we've made things more difficult for ourselves, or maybe we, could have improved this, or maybe we should just be thinking about that. It's just really crazy to sit back and hear some people talk about some really basic concepts and me sit back and go, we've got to really
fine tuning, right?
Well, 100%, and it doesn't matter how successful you are. Like, I think we're really successful at Atlas. We've built a great business. We've got great people working there. We help great people build their portfolios. And yet there's still some basic things that we just forgot we needed to do or forgot how to do them. So anyway, a bit of a different topic to property, but
no, but couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more.
Do you find that sometimes that happens for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like forecasting and sort of, planning your finances as well. You'd think it's a straight line. It's never like that, right?
Yeah.
Life is always throwing some lemons, and it's up to you to make some lime juice, right?
Yeah.
Lemon juice. So
if you can make lime juice out of lemons, then you're like the Brazilian Jesus.
Oh, mate, let me tell you, because there's a good mixture here.
It's a good mixture.
Yeah.
You're just. What's that Brazilian spirit? It reminds me a bit of tequila. You gifted me a bottle years and years and years ago.
Yes. Caipirinha.
Yeah, I can't say that. I'm not gonna try that.
No, you can. You should. You should.
You know what?
It's going to be recorded.
I'm really embarrassed to say it because it was a beautiful gift, right? And it came with also how to make a certain cocktail with it. I actually still haven't opened it, but it's still sitting front and center in my alcohol cabinet.
Are you kidding?
Mate, it's still sitting front. It's sitting front. It's literally sitting front and center. I should open it. What is it? It's like tequila or something, isn't it?
You should. Yes, very similar.
Very similar.
Very similar. Very.
I love tequila.
Yeah, very, very limey.
But
really good, man. Really good. That's like true Brazilian.
True Brazilian.
Spirit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm trying to be good at the moment with obviously
Well,
the.
try and let me know, because if you like it, I can bring back another one,
You can bring back
like a
the okay.
super top
I got
notch one.
I got to do it. I'm trying to be good with Christmas coming up because there's obviously so many work events and just things, life,
What do you
family
mean by
events.
good?
As in trying to limit
Behaving.
my, literally trying to just trying to limit some of my alcohol intake and all the rest because not afraid to go and have a good time. But
I was gonna say, man, it's the end of the year. Like you
oh,
worked so hard. You get to the end, you're entitled to, have a
oh
bit of
mate.
fun.
You're very kind. You know what? We've gotten so off topic. We're meant to be talking about property. We've talked about business. We've talked about Brazilian spirits. We've talked about you being Brazilian Jesus. Now we're talking about my alcohol intake over Christmas. I reckon we got to let's bring it right back to where we need to be, which is
Fair
what
enough.
we would be
Fair
doing if we
enough.
were buying property, right? And I said before, right? Being brilliant at the basics. I think a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is about is the basics. But I think we've got three really core key things that we want people to think about, right? And in terms of what that first one is, a little pause. I'm sure people are thinking, has he even written it down? Does he even know what he's about to say? But I do know because we've got our show notes right here. So the first thing that I would be saying, if I was buying a property right now, or if we were buying a property right now, what we'd do, right? First one is I would prioritize speed and not perfection. How do you feel about that?
Ah, I agree 1000%.
Not
I was gonna say
10,000?
150%. It's 1000%.
Why not 10,000? Would you agree
Yeah,
10,000?
yeah, 10,000. Agreed.
10,000. So I want to take people right back to where I think that prioritizing speed, not perfection, actually starts. And I think a lot of people are going, oh, well, you're probably talking about property, right? You're talking about property. When you find a property that's pretty good, you got to prioritize speed. And I most certainly am, but it actually starts a lot earlier on in the process, right? Prioritizing speed, not perfection, I think comes back at the very beginning where you are even beginning to start to think about property, right? Because there are so many key decisions you've got to make before you're even in the position of actually looking at physical properties where speed trumps perfection, right? I'll give you guys a few examples, right? First one is whether or not you're going to work with somebody, okay? Now, of course, the sales pitch is there. Come work with us at Atlas and go work with us at Aussie Newtown, right? Well, not us, but we will, right?
It's
Of course,
implied. You don't need
right?
to say it.
It's no, but sometimes it's easy. Call it out. People just I say it all the time. I'd rather just be honest and say it. Of course, we'd love your business, right? If you're a good person, we'd love your business, right? But I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about whether you're going to work with anyone: accountants, brokers, buyers agents,
Solicitors.
solicitors, right? You probably maybe not that one just yet because they come in a bit deeper into the process. Accountants, right? Financial planners, whatever it is. Prioritize speed, not perfection, right? Go out there and if you want to have a few meetings, but book them in. Don't wait. Actually start to do it. Don't think, oh, I've had a big week. I'm going to push the meeting to next week. Do the meeting this week, right? If you think you want to meet with 3 people and you think, you know what, I've had a big week, well, then doing 2 and then do the third one next week is a lot better than doing 1 this week and 1 next week and then 1 the week after that, right? It starts there, right? Then when you meet with people, if you think it's a good fit, and let's be honest, right? There are plenty of buyer's agents out there. I'll use buyer's agents as the example, right? Because I think for mortgage brokers, there's not that fee for service. So it's sort of, if you gel, it's a bit easy to make the decision. For us, of course, people have got to make a financial decision to work with us, right? If you meet with someone and you think it's good, realistically, if you're working with a pretty reputable buyer's agent, hint, hint, like Atlas, realistically, like, the margin for error decreases hugely. Like, is it possible that you buy a property with a buyer's agent that's got a really good reputation and it doesn't perform as one of their case studies they put on social media? Absolutely it is, right? But of course, the idea that your property is not going to perform is pretty much like almost null and void, right? We can't make guarantees about that. But like the reality is you're probably still going to be doing okay, right? So rather than then going, I'm going to spend the next 4 to 6 weeks making a decision, make a prompt decision, right? Obviously, same thing goes for a mortgage broker, right? But then it gets through, the next stage of that process, right? When you're getting your finance pre-approval done, don't wait 2 weeks to get your documents done. Get it done in a week or less, right? Get that speed, right?
Less,
right?
please.
Less. I'm sure you'd agree with this, right? If your profile
100%.
If your profile fits to go with a lender that is not your regular big four, but they're going to do it faster, they're going to get you through smoother, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Do that. Focus on that, right? Like, it's got to be right for your circumstances, but focusing on that speed, not perfection, because, even in finance, you can go and refi later, right? You can go and refinance later. You want to get a sharper rate? Go and do that after. Do that after, get in the market faster, right? Would you agree with that, Will?
Absolutely, man. Focus on getting it done. We had an old friend who used to say, "Perfect is the enemy of good." Have you heard that before?
I have heard
It's
that
our French
before.
friend,
Our French friend. Who was that?
Voltaire.
Was it Voltaire?
Yeah.
Oh, someone is
Yes.
going to fact check us on that one. If it's not Voltaire, send your angry emails to Will. But
Come
everybody
on,
has
but
heard that saying.
I'll cop it. Come on, man, come on. What are you
But
doing?
you're absolutely right? And then obviously we eventually get to the property process, right? And speed is absolutely the enemy. Oh, sorry, perfection is the enemy of speed, right? Because there are always
absolutely.
a million things going on, right? I've got a few stories, if you'll let me share. We've got a lot of deals that we're doing at the moment. We've had our biggest year ever, helped so many more people. And we've got a few really interesting deals going on at the moment that I'm involved in. And I've just got a few little, like, anecdotal stories, if you'll allow me to share
bring it
a
on.
few. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just around people's speed and not perfection, right? So I got one deal, right? It's literally happening right now. I don't know if we're going to be able to secure this deal. I feel very confident that we will, right? We got this deal, right? This deal is potentially one of the craziest deals I've ever seen. Craziest deals I've ever seen, right? I'm not even kidding, right?
Really?
Potentially one of the craziest, right?
But in what sense?
I'll tell. Oh, don't you worry. I'll tell you. I will tell you, Mr. Will Sanchez.
Come on, man, you can't do this to me.
So the deal is one of our really, really strong off-market relationships, and this deal is 100% off-market. You are not getting it unless you have a relationship, right? That is literally the key to this deal, right? Mortgagee in possession deal. So basically somebody where the bank has had to repossess the property. Hot tip for everyone. That doesn't always equal a fire sale. A lot of the time, it actually, the bank or whoever the mortgagee in possession, person or entity is, they actually want to maximize the results. They don't need to rush through it. They don't want to rush through it. They actually want to get the top dollar. So that's a little fun fact for everyone. Distress sales does not always equal prime time buying opportunity, but this one does. For various reasons, the property has been trying to be sold for months, but it's had the wrong people doing the wrong thing on it, and it hasn't happened. And one of our agents that we work really closely with called us up and said, we need to get this property sold. This was literally like 5 p.m. yesterday. We need this property sold by tomorrow, right? They want like mid-5s for this property. Conservatively, by any measure, this property is worth mid-6s any day of the week, right? 100 grand undervalued. We got property that sold across the road and next door that are worse than ours, have one less bedroom than ours, that sold for the early 600s 6 months ago, right? But they just need this deal gone, right? Huge block. You could potentially do a battle axe on it. Massive. There's a little bit of TLC that needs to happen on it, though. The last people that were in it, because it was repossessed, they broke some things. There's some parts of the property that just need to be touched up and all the rest. Talking about maybe 10, 15K that's got to put in, right?
But you're 85,000 better off,
right? Literally, and that's being conservative, right? You might even be able to take it up to a 7, right? It's insane deal, right? One of our really, really valued clients, and I don't know if you're listening to this, I called him up straight away. I called him last night. I said, mate, this is the situation. We haven't even done up our standard reporting pack on this property yet. Like our standard sort of 40, 50 page analysis that we do. I'm just going to talk it to you. He's obviously, he's a very smart guy. We've done deals with him before. Like, he's able to operate at a bit of a different level, the average person, but this is talking about speed, right? Not perfection, right? So we weren't perfect with having the deal pack ready. We weren't perfect with having all the due diligence done. We're still doing some due diligence this morning, which he understood, right? It's about clear communication as well. Within I'm not kidding, within maybe not 5, 10 minutes of me giving him a ring, telling it to him, sending him a couple of bits of info, he called me back and said, mate, let's get this deal done. No brainer, right? Even if something is off on the deal, we're still going to be making money, hand over fist here. Like, we're still making, easy 50 to 100K on this deal. No questions, get it done, right? We're trying to get it done literally this morning now that we're recording. I reckon I feel pretty good that we're going to get it done. But key is, I then had to call him this morning and tell him, mate, like a couple of things, extra things came up on due diligence. I don't think it's an issue for these reasons. What do you think? He said, no, I agree with you. It's still all good. He's now in the box seat because he's planned, he's drawn equity, he's been quick. He's actually going to be able to do it as a cash buy. Cash buy, 21-day settlement. We're still going to get a building and pest done on it. But that's what speed does, right? That's what speed does, right? I got another story for you, right?
What? Geez, he's on fire.
I know, man, I want the stories.
He's on fire.
I know everybody loves hearing stories. That's why I think sometimes I forget to actually tell the stories that we see every day, you know, because I know when I was starting as well, listening to property podcasts, you hear people telling you actual deal stories. Like it's like ecstasy, right? You just love it. It just hits the dopamine in the brain, right?
Momentum. That's
momentum, right? So another story for you, right? This one, fortunately, we were able to save it, but we almost lost it, right? So this client, right, bought the deal, decent deal, you know, nothing crazy, but being in this market was a lot more important than trying to find a deal that, you know, they were getting 30, 40K under value, right? You know, I think we got a good fair deal. I think we got a sharp buy on it, right? But we went through it all with the client, took them through the, sent them through the solicitor's contract review, helped them with that. And they told me it was all good, right? Told me it was all good. I said, awesome. I need you to sign the contract now. Get it done. We need to get it closed, right? Like, otherwise they're going to shop it to somebody else, right? They ended up calling me an hour later. And I said, when I finished the call with them, I said, can you just send me a text or an email once you've signed it off, right? I don't want to know, right? And I my spider senses always go, right? I give people usually 15, 20 minutes. If I don't get it, usually it means there's a problem, right? An hour later, I'm literally typing a message to one of my guys on the team saying, can you please give them a call and see where they're at? And as I'm typing that, I get a phone call from them. And they say, oh, I know we said that we were good with the contract review and all the rest, but we now want to go and add in, we now want to go back and add in X, Y, and Z. And I said, guys, obviously I'm going to go and fight for you on that, right? Like, it's not insane what you're asking for, but it's now going to add in time. The vendors had already been slow. They were already a bit sort of funny about, wanting a pretty smooth, clean contract. And now we're going to try and add in, I think it was like 3 extra special conditions. And anyway, I said, I'm going to go fight, but I need to have a tough conversation with you, which is that if we can't get this put in and it delays it, and they say, if you're not going to do it, we're just going to push it aside, like, what's your response going to be? And they're like, oh, like we'd probably just say, yeah, we'll sign it. And I said, okay. I need you to understand that, though, because I'm going to go fight, but it doesn't mean we're going to win, right? I went back and we managed to get all 3 conditions negotiated in, right? Which, I'll be honest, I did not believe that we were going to do it, right? I did not believe it because it then was going to add another 3 days to the process because the solicitor who needed to adjust it was out of office for 2 days. Then we were going to get it back. Then we'd obviously have to get the solicitor just to double check it over. And then, we're going to be there. We almost lost that deal, right? Because they were trying to get perfection and not focusing on the speed of it, which is what was required in that market. Fortunately, they had an A-grade negotiator in Atlas to kind of keep it all together. But...
No, what's his name?
What? The negotiator? Lucky V.
Yeah.
Lucky V.
Dang.
Right? But, this is where perfection at the expense of speed almost cost us a deal. And that was literally last Thursday through to middle of this week, right? Last Thursday through
good on you, because let me tell you from what I see, that's not really, really common in this, especially around this time of the year. People don't give, they don't wait. Like,
it's not.
You either do it, you get it, or you don't get it. Like, if you don't get it, someone else will get it, right?
I 100% agree with you, and I can tell you it came down to 2 factors. The first factor was that we had a relationship with the agent. We'd worked with them multiple times before. They knew that we were good for it. They knew we obviously had to explain that the client was like an earlier investor. They were a bit nervous, and we would keep them, for lack of a better term, on a leash, because that's the reality, right? Like, us as your representative, the agent as the sales representative, at the end of the day, everyone actually wants the same thing. Like, no one's trying to screw anyone over. We're just trying to look after everyone's best interest. And usually the best way to keep things together is to just remind people of that, like we are going to keep control of our client and make sure they don't go off the reservation and do anything, crazy. But at the same time, we just need a little bit of understanding from you guys, right, in that respect. So it was mutual professionalism that got it done. But I will tell you, on the afternoon that we ended up getting it signed, the agent did call us and say, if it's not signed before close business, we're going to have to take it to somebody else, right? So we still had that timing on us, right? And that was, and the only reason that we could keep it together that long was that relationship side. So anyway, mate, that's two stories for me. Mate, that's two stories for me, right? Two very interesting stories, I hope, to people, but more to just illustrate the point that, like, on that first deal that we're currently trying to get signed off as I'm recording this, or as we're recording this, speed is the thing that's going to get us going, because I know that there's at least 5 other buyers agents that are on this deal for obvious reasons, because it's just a no-brainer, and it's going to be speed that gets it done, right? And on the other side, we didn't lose it, but the lack of speed and the pursuit of perfection was actually what almost cost us that deal, right? So
yeah, but I'm pretty sure your strategy, your criteria was pretty straight to the point. You knew exactly what you wanted, didn't you?
Of course. But, the issue still being that, like, when people want to, in tough conditions like this, when people want to go and focus on perfection, not speed, even with a ruthlessly clear buying criteria, it's going to be your enemy. It's going to be your enemy. And especially, I guess maybe the thing to take away from that story as well is, because we do it as a business, we have the ability to develop relationships with agents, right? We get to know them. We have to know their kids' names. We have to know their favorite sports, what they do on weekends, right? That's just human connection and relationships, and it's what entices them to want to work with us compared to another buyer's agent or another individual. However, at the end of the day, everyone still has a job to do, and we, by chasing that perfection in a market where other people aren't going to care about that, even with a ruthlessly clear buying criteria, it's not going to be your friend, especially when you're an individual doing that. You're not going to have that relationship built, because, at best you're doing a deal. That's it. One deal,
I feel sorry for the ones doing themselves. It's hard as it is for you who does it professionally.
It is. Woe is us, right? Woe is me. Our life is so difficult getting to do one of the best things in the world, which is play in property, So, but I got to say, you set it up. You set up the next point. I saw what you did there, and I came off the back of it. How about you tell everyone what our second of the 3 things we do if we were buying today is?
Well, you've just mentioned it twice.
Yeah. So did you. It wasn't just me. It was you too.
Yeah. Be ruthlessly clear on your buying criteria. Like, laser focus. Cut off the noise.
Why do you feel like that's so important?
Oh, mate, because life is hard as it is. There's too much noise. Everywhere you go, there's just too much noise. Like, people trying to say something, people trying to discourage you, people disagreeing with you. But at the end of the day, butterflies in your stomach. You got to know. You got to know what you're doing. Yeah. You got a clear strategy that will get you to where you want to go. Like, and the worst part is there's a lot of people trying to get somewhere without a plan.
Yeah.
It's hard with a plan. Can you imagine without a plan?
It is hard with a plan, isn't it? No, you spiked it up for me. I slammed it down in our speed, not perfection element, but I completely agree with you, and I see this all the time, right? All the time. You know what? I actually have another story. I have another story for you, right?
I like them.
You like them? Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to come back to that story because I want to talk about what ruthlessly clear means first, because I think getting clear about that is probably more important than the story, which I'll come to, right?
I want to be clear on what ruthlessly clear means. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so, why is it important? Like you said, life is hard. We got all that stuff going on, right? But I can tell you, in terms of property, as you mentioned, right, there's so much white noise out there. There's so much white noise, right? And for most people, they just sort of, their first thought is, oh, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to buy a property, right? And not sit back in the sense of I'm not going to do anything. It's just going to appear. But like their first thought when they are sitting back is, you know what? I've decided I'm going to buy a property. That's what I'm going to do. You know, I'm going to buy a property, and it is what it is, right? And then usually the biggest extent that people go to is going to be, oh, I'll just work out what I can spend, right? Not what I should buy for, what I can spend. And they're two different things, right? What should you spend versus what can I buy for, right? And then in terms of a location, they might be like, oh, we'll just look around the corner, right? That is usually the extent, the maximum extent that people go to, right? And I can tell you that is not really helpful because you've got an entire ocean out there of the entirety of Australia. And you need to understand what your buying criteria is because that links into your overall property investment strategy, right? If you don't even have a property investment strategy, which we've done countless episodes on and countless mentions of it throughout, that is already going to be a huge issue because how can you be ruthlessly clear on your buying criteria if you don't even know if you don't know where that fits into your overall strategy because you don't have one? You know, it's a chicken and egg type thing, right? You need to have that strategy before you can be there, right? That's a different episode. But you need to be focused on what your buying criteria is and how that loops into your strategy because that's going to help you to work out where you need to be. That's going to help you to work out when you're then in where you should be, if a property fits that or not, because not every property is going to be a good fit for good reason, right? Like depending on where you're at, what you're looking for, how that fits with the strategy, that is going to help to cut out so much of the market, which will actually help to get rid of the noise rather than just being, oh, I can spend $1 million. And then you see back just on REA going, what can I buy for $1 million in Sydney, you know, or in around Australia, you know, like there's going to be thousands and thousands of properties and good luck filtering that, right?
Absolutely. That's the right saying. That's the right saying. Good luck with it.
Right. So, you know, I think the obvious part of that as well, though, is that if you don't know what your strategy is as your first instance, but even if you have an idea of it, and that's assuming you've built it right, when we get down to your buying criteria, get help if you're not sure, you know, whether it's us, whether it's somebody else, you know, just get some help because you're making 10, 15-year decisions here. You shouldn't be making those decisions on the basis of you just like waking up one day or, you know, watching a TV show and being like, I'm just going to do this, right? You need that help, right? But I want to give you a story about why not being ruthlessly clear is really detrimental, really, really, really detrimental, right? So we have a client right now, and I'll say, right, the client's not happy with us because we've taken longer than the client would have wanted us to buy, right? The issue that we've had with this client, right, is that their buying criteria is so prohibitive, and it's only continued to get more prohibitive as time has gone on, that we're in a market where not only do things move quickly, but like you're looking for a needle in a haystack of a haystack, right? With the context being finding good investable markets is hard enough as is, right? You're then in those good investable markets. Then you got to find good investable properties in those markets, right? So now you're a needle in a haystack, right? Or a needle inside of a needle, whatever you want to call it, right? And then when you keep building on stuff, especially stuff that is not maybe actually that relevant to getting property performance from a long-term point of view, all you're doing is making it harder and harder and harder, right? And for a different analogy, right? It's like throwing a dart at the bullseye and then trying to split that first dart with a second dart, then trying to split that second dart with a third dart, all in consecutive time, right? It's just making it harder.
You got to be pretty good.
You got to be pretty good, right? We're pretty good, right? And even we're struggling with some of that, right? But the reason I'm telling you this story is because this client has made their feelings very, very, very well known to us, right? Like we even got an email from them being like, you know, you're on your last chance, all this, right? Like really not professionally,
Really?
yeah, just not professionally collaborative type work, right? And that's fine. Like I get it. You know, people have their stresses. Mate, it was a bad day. You know, it's obviously why we never name clients and that. And if they listen to it, you know, maybe they can hear it from a different perspective. But we're out there trying to do the best for them, right? Like you think about it, as a buyer's agency, we are literally incentivized to get a good result. Because if we get a good result, you come back for another property, and we're going to make obviously some more money off you, right? And I don't think that's a dirty thing to say.
Can I add a little bit? Can I add a little bit to that? Just sort of cut you there.
Yeah.
But just because, mate, in all honesty, I work with people who work with buyer's agents, and sometimes they hire a buyer's agent who comes back with the property with less than a week after signing with the client. In this market, I go, like do they really understand what you're looking for, or was
Yeah,
this already in the microwave just cooking for you?
I
Like,
agree, Matt. I agree with you. I agree with you, right? So
yeah, sorry, I just had to throw it
no,
in
no,
there.
no, and it's a good point, right? Because the people who are doing the right thing are going to take time to make sure it is the right thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, where this story basically ends up going to about being ruthlessly clear on a buying criteria and how, like, in this case, it's not that, is that, we now have the most, short left and right of arc that we can play within for this client. And we've literally been told, like, I told, like, it was not a nice email we got, right? But we still want to try and do the right thing by the client. And, we were told, like, last chance, if I see stuff that doesn't meet this, like, we're going to be having words, basically, like, not good stuff, right? And I'm sure some people are listening and thinking, well, just move the client on, right? And we very well could do that, but I think that when life gets tough, you don't just throw in the towel, right? Like, I think that this client, if we can get it done for them, in hindsight, is going to appreciate that we didn't throw the towel in, because I know we can do a good job for them, right? Where I'm leading with this
Oh,
too is we literally got an email last night from this client, right, with a property. And the property that they sent to us, he said, I've just been sent this because I'm on a few mailing lists, right? I've just been sent this property, and I think it could be a really good opportunity. And, I'd like for you guys to take a look at it for me, and let me know. And you can say to the agent if you want, like, that it's for me, because I already, sent him an email about it, right? You want to know the irony of this whole thing? The property itself is the exact opposite of all of the criteria he has been basically screaming at us to find, telling us if we present him stuff that doesn't fit all this criteria, that, like, it's our last chance and all this stuff. This property is quite literally the exact opposite of all of it. Like, not just one thing, all of it. We got told the property has to be in such a bad rundown condition that they can be doing a full renovation, right? We got told it had to fit a certain rental yield that was like well over 5%. We got told that there had to be room for development out the back. We got told that it had to, what else was it? There was a couple of other bits of criteria, right? This property, brand new renovation, complete turnkey type of situation. Rental yield is going to be like in the mid to low fours. Potentially development, but potentially not, in a market that the client also wasn't, I don't think, that crash hot about either. So, like, literally complete opposites of all of it, right? So this is what happens when you're not ruthlessly clear about your buying criteria. You delay the process. You then have people looking for something that you might not have. And I can like, the amount of opportunities that we could have presented to this client, if that was actually something he was willing to look at, are endless. And we've also now got conflict in a relationship that there doesn't need to be, right?
That's weird.
And that's the thing.
People,
We're going back to the client to say, we're so confused right now because it does not make sense, right? But that is why your buying criteria is so important.
Oh man, that was a really good example. Really good example. And I'm telling you, I'm not too sure I would have had the exact same patience, to be honest. You did a great job.
Our
You did a great job.
team can be saints at times. You might be the Brazilian Jesus turning, lime into lemon juice, but our team,
Nah.
they can have
Jesus
the
Christ,
patience.
Jesus Christ couldn't make everyone happy.
He literally couldn't. He literally couldn't, and we all know
Exactly.
what happened to him, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right, mate. I'm conscious of time. I'd like to push on to our third one. I don't know if I have a story for this one yet, but who knows? Maybe we'll come up with it. There's been a few things, but number 3 for our listeners, right? Number 3, if we're buying a property today, what would be doing? Well, of course, property is a long-term asset, of course, right? So of course you need to think about the future, but we would especially be thinking with 2026 in mind, and especially the supply pressures of today and what is carrying on into 2026, right? So why are we saying this? Well, you need to be thinking about this because depending on your portfolio strategy and ensuring that you've bought with a ruthless buying criteria, you need to be thinking about what is coming next for you, because what you buy today is going to heavily, heavily impact that, right? So I'll give you an example, if you're in a position that you can acquire multiple properties, you might be wanting to look at markets today that have quite heavy supply pressures that might actually be already showing signs of like really, really good performance, or having already demonstrated some decent performance or good performance over the last, maybe 6 or 12 months, right? With the reason being that if the property investing fundamentals and the supply and demand fundamentals in these areas support that there should be continued growth, whilst you might give up some growth that's already occurred, you know that it's a safe bet. There is still some good performance to go. And you want to see a really quick equity uplift so that you can then leapfrog into your second or your third or subsequent property. And you need the market to be performing, right? But
it's the opportunity cost type of thing, isn't it?
Of course. Opportunity cost. I love that word, right? Or phrase. But on the flip side, if you know you can't buy for another couple of years because of, let's say, your borrowing constraints, well, then in that kind of a circumstance, you might be more than happy to be focusing on a market that is showing supply pressure, but maybe not as much as another market, because you don't need to see equity movement over the next 12, 18, 24 months. You're very happy to sit and take it at the bottom, right? Your 2026 is one of slowness, of one that's not driving forward with additional purchases because you can't, right? So it's going to dictate what you do. Would you agree with that?
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah? Absolutely. You got to know what the next steps are, right, to be able to determine what your first step is going to be.
100%, right? So, for example, I can say, like there are markets around Australia, right? Like, certain areas of Victoria, certain areas of Tasmania, certain areas of New South Wales, right? Like these areas are places where there might be some, green shoots starting to come through, but they're not necessarily primed to have huge 2026s, right? And now, obviously, things can change on a dime, but it's about a more long-term play, right? But then you got other markets like Queensland continues to be phenomenal performer. Certain areas of Victoria, right? You've then still got certain areas in New South Wales, certain areas of WA. They are, are they going to be moving in 5 years' time? Probably not. But you might still get 1 to 2 years out of it. And it's what helps you to then get another property. And that's what helps you to get another property. So that can be your focus about your rapid acquisition. So it's really, really important in that sense.
Oh, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah, very good point.
But something I can most certainly say with buying for 2026 in mind is that we are still in a real housing crunch issue that is not going away, right? We've seen the housing accords the government set out. We've just finished the first year of what was meant to be 240,000 homes being built over the next each year for the next 5 years, right? So about 1.2 million homes, if I can do that maths correctly. Yeah, 1.2 million homes, right? In the first year, right? And I need to say it, building 240,000 homes in 1 year was already going to be a national record. I don't think we've ever done that before, right? I believe it is a national record if we were to do that, right? In the first year, we fell short by over 80,000 homes, I think. So that means that in the first year, where there should be the most political momentum and all the rest, we fell short of achieving a record. So now, in theory, in year 2, we couldn't hit a record in year 1. Now we've got to actually hit that record in year 2 and then some, because we were over 80,000 short, right?
Yep.
Guys, what do we think is going to happen, right? Like, the writing's on the wall.
Supply and affordability. It's
right?
Crazy.
Exactly right, So, affordability and supply are still the two biggest drivers of where markets are going, and they are not easing anytime soon, right? So even if you're in areas that might not be showing crazy supply constraint right now, I can tell you once they start to get a little bit of momentum, we are going to see it shooting through. It is only common sense, right? It is only common sense. But to round out number 3, I'd be looking to buy with 2026 in mind. And your 2026, it could either be trying to continue accelerating your portfolio, or it might not be, for whatever reason that is. But you need to be buying with that in mind and with a keen eye to the supply pressures that are going on. All right. So, my friend, that is our episode for today. If we were buying a property, what would we do?
I loved it.
You loved it? You loved it?
I loved it. We went on a tangent for a little while, but that's what makes the episodes extremely interesting.
Entertaining.
Right?
Entertaining. Right?
That's the word. You've been
entertainment.
doing some courses at Channel 9.
Wait, I can't tell you. I can't. If I told you, I'd have to kill you. You know. So.
Oh, don't say that.
No,
Don't say
good
that.
stuff, mate. Well, guys, we want to, we'll wrap up in a couple of moments. But before we do, first, want to have a big shout out. If you are looking at growing your investment property portfolio, make sure you come and have a chat with myself and the team at Atlas Property Group before the year ends, right? We've talked about speed, not perfection. Come and talk. There are things that we can still move on this side of the year. You need to be taking steps because we've already done an episode. Our last episode was about what happens if you wait. Get in front of the 8 ball now. Come and have a chat, atlaspropertygroup.com.au. And if you need your finance, make sure you go and chat with Will and the team at Aussie Newtown. You can get his details in the bio there. Go and chat with them because finance does not happen in a day, right? You need to set yourself up. But otherwise, guys, thank you for tuning in. Keep dropping those 5-star reviews. We're going to be back with you very shortly. We've got a good run into the end of 2025 with some great episodes coming up, but we also want to make sure that your property journey continues moving along. So until next time, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you.
This is a Piccolo podcast production.